Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of To The Point with me, Eric Mitchell. The full show name is actually To The Point with Eric Mitchell, but it's just weird when you're saying your own name. Excited to be on with you guys for episode 1. This came up actually from my 15-year-old, Madison, who's actually our producer, one of our producers. She came up with this idea of kind of spinning positive news. We watch the news every day. We don't always get to hear the fun stories. We're constantly beat down hearing how bad the media is or how bad a person with orange hair is. So we came up with this idea to give you guys a fun look and spin at everything that's going on that we call the world today. I was just taking a look. I see that Governor Cuomo out of New York has now instructed New Yorkers starting Friday to wear masks when they're out in public. The market appears to be doing okay this morning, and thank goodness we've survived another day without sports. Speaking of sports, we have some amazing guests for today coming on to talk about what's going on in the sports world. We have several amazing guests. They're going to kind of give you some insight on what's going on. But, we've gone almost a month now since we've all been in this self-quarantine. So I hope everybody's doing good and keeping their head up. I know it's easy to get beat down during these times, but that's why we created this for you guys. So you have some fun guests who bring in high energy, kind of tell you what they're doing, give you something else to keep your head on, to swivel and not have to worry about what's going on in life. I don't know if you guys saw it over the weekend, Sunday, which was Easter and also Passover. The NBA did this horse competition. This is the second time the NBA has attempted to do something. The first one was the Players' Championship for NBA 2K, which was interesting. You got to see the players who do play a lot of 2K and a lot of players who don't. So they came up with this horse competition, and they were playing at home. And I don't know, but I was worried about the quality of this show. Apparently, it doesn't matter how much money you have, your phone can suck and ruin what it looks like. It was extremely boring. The ratings, I heard, were awful. So not what we want. We keep hearing rumors of baseball coming back. I don't know about you guys, but I miss sports. I miss seeing the Yankees. I miss seeing the Portland Trail Blazers. I had just actually got into soccer this year living here in Portland. We have the Portland Timbers. Amazing following. If you don't follow soccer, go check it out. As a baseball, basketball, football guy, go Niners. And I'm sure you can figure out baseball. It's really easy. It's right behind me, right? Like you're like, we get it. You're a Yankee fan. So what you won't have is Red Sox fans. That's probably accurate. Kind of like Lakers. We won't have a lot of Lakers on this show. But one thing that, we're just seeing the Major League Baseball is really trying to jump up. And that kind of got me thinking about soccer, right? Soccer is one of these outdoor sports. So we're looking at all these outdoor sports. And it's just like, when is this coming back? When do we get our sports back? We desperately need our sports back. Watching old games is great. I was on with a good friend of mine, Joe Piscopo, a few weeks ago. We were both talking about, thank goodness for ESPN Plus. They have all these old games. He was watching games from the 70s before my time. I know my son calls me a boomer. I'm like, dude, I'm not a boomer. Your grandparents are a boomer. I'm not a boomer. That's what he called me yesterday because I found TikTok. But we were talking about watching these old games, and it was great. I was talking about watching Derek Jeter when he was just a young guy, right? And it was just fascinating to watch. And what's cool has been watching sports kind of get us to watch these old games. We're going to dive into the old games that I've been watching for the Blazers with our second guest today. But I did watch some soccer games. Speaking of him, here he is. We're going to bring him in here in a second. But it's been fun watching Major League Soccer show all these old games. The Timbers have been doing it and giving play-by-play with the players and when they were where they were on the field and what was going through their minds. We've seen it with NBA teams doing it. I hope football gets around to do it and baseball doing it. But let's jump into our first guest. Welcome to our show. He is the goalie for the Portland Timbers, a Major League Soccer. If you don't know what soccer is, go look it up. Yes, they have a major league. It does quite well. It survived all of the pro football leagues besides the NFL. So they're doing really good. Jeff is originally from Tampa, so he's going to tell us how excited he is about this new quarterback they have. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Jeff into the show. Jeff, my buddy, how are you doing? craziest quarantine of anybody. Your season was 2 games in, and all of a sudden your season's over, but you had a wee one on the way at the same time.
I don't know if it's over, Eric. We're not gonna call it quits yet. But yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy quarantine for me. I just gotten cleared. I had a pretty major shoulder surgery, so I just gotten cleared to return to play literally the day that the season got postponed. So that was a wild ride. And then on top of it, my wife was expecting pretty much any day when all this has been going down. And now we have a 2-week-old in the house, and it's been a pretty crazy quarantine experience.
So before we jump into your side hustle, as we'll call it, let's talk about it, because I know people are dying to know. We hear all this. Just yesterday, a major network, a host was on there saying, these professional athletes, I don't understand why they need weeks to get back once we bring them back. They should be ready to go. They should be training at all times. And I had to laugh. Obviously, I'm familiar with, soccer. We've all played here in America at some level. And you guys run more than any other sport, for sure. I mean, you guys probably compete with the NBA with up and down. Their court's shorter and definitely, a little easier, I would say. But I'm not going to go there because there's probably some NBA guy like, oh, really? It's easy. And I'm like, no. But for you, I mean, how do you think about that? I mean, it's going to take you some time to get back. You guys were in shape. You had gone to training camp, started your season, and then it's like, you're done. You can't even go train, right?
Yeah, it's been challenging. We're in a pretty fortunate position where the Timbers are really taking care of us. They're making sure they're on top of our nutrition as best they can, and checking in and making sure we're doing the workouts. But to be doing at-home workouts with not the proper equipment and not the proper coaching and all that stuff in front of us, we have to be ready to play at a high level when we return to the field. So it's kind of just like preseason. It's going to take time. It's going to take time for the athletes to be ready, to get their bodies ready. Because at the end of the day, the last thing we want is to rush everybody back and then have to deal with injuries, because then that's just another thing for sports to kind of hit a little bit of a lull. So, it's important. I understand. I'm a big sports fan. If I could snap my fingers and get baseball, hockey, and basketball started up tomorrow and not think about the athlete side of things, I definitely see the appeal in that. But at the same time, you got to think about the athletes a little bit as humans. And, also you got to think about the product you're putting on the field. If people are going out there out of shape, not as in good a shape as they're used to, and, getting injured all the time, that wouldn't be fun for anybody either.
Awesome. So are you still in touch with your teammates? I have seen the Timbers. I did watch your amazing live stream where you guys covered your playoff game. It was fun watching all of your guys jump on to your Instagram feed. But you guys keeping connected to each other regularly, or having team meetings like I see some of the NBA guys are doing?
Yeah, we're still breaking down film. We're still doing check-ins with the strength coaches to make sure everything's good. They're doing a good job of keeping us updated with, the health updates. If you want to log off from the news from time to time, you can check in with the team and they'll update you a little bit nicer than I think you're getting on the news networks right now. But so it's been good. They're keeping us connected. We're talking to each other as teammates, making sure the locker room is, trying to hold each other accountable to make sure we're in shape and ready for, whenever they tell us we're able to get back into the facility, make sure we're ready for that moment.
Outstanding. So let's talk about your side hustle. Obviously, you have soccer, but you are a sports fan. We all know, if you follow Jeff on social, the one thing you know is that he loves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more than anything. And in this offseason, the Buccaneers picked up this okay quarterback, I guess, from this team that we all hate, New England. So everybody likes. It's funny, Brady's not hated anymore because he left the the Patriots. Sorry, I got the name wrong. The Houston Astros of football. So now he's on your team. So it's kind of a segue here. So you are an author of children's books on sports called It Had to Be Told. So
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I will. Yeah. So it's funny you bring up the Brady and the cheating scandal, because we actually mentioned that in one of our books. So one of our books is called The Greatest Ever. And it's a story of, Bill Belichick and Brady and the Patriots. Whether you hate them or you love them, you can't argue that they're the best ever. So we turned it into a nursery rhyme, kind of telling the saga of the Patriots. We mentioned Deflategate. That's in there. We mentioned how Commissioner Goodell suspended Brady for a little bit. And, so we cover all the bases in the children's book. But yeah, so our company, It Had to Be Told. It's, we write historical sporting events in nursery rhyme format so that it's fun for kids to read. It's fun for the parents to read. And for me, I just think it creates a great way for that love of sports to create the bond between the parents and the kids. And at the same time, it kind of tackles the kids that aren't really into reading. Because I know for myself, I wish that there were opportunities for me to, read about different sports things when I was younger, because it probably would open my world up a little bit more to reading instead of just, going to the newspaper and checking the scores every day.
Absolutely. And so some of the titles, obviously I know about them, but like the Cubs, everybody knows you have one on the Cubs. Kind of break down the stories that you have. I know, which is ironic because we're here in Portland, Oregon. You have one on the Cavaliers, which is funny because we do have a native Portlandier, I guess, is that the word, Portlandier, or Oregonian, I guess we'll go with. Kevin Love is featured in that. So you have one on the Cavs. What other books do you have?
Yeah, I mean, can I pull them up? Is it all right if I pull them up?
Go ahead, pull them up for sure.
All right, so
there's no rules on this show, Jess. That's why it's easy. Self-play, bud. Everyone needs to read. This is great. I mean, I know my kids love sports, and it's hard to like make them sit down and be like, Michael Jordan was the best. You sit down and enjoy it. But remember, April 19th, watch The Last Dance on ESPN to see Michael Jordan, because that will truly be the #1 ratings of the year. I'm predicting. I
already have it recorded.
I think everybody I've talked to is like, we're going to watch this thing. It's going to be great. So show us the books.
I already let the wife know that HDTV is coming off. My daughter knows that, Bubble Guppies or whatever we're watching on whatever random day, I'm watching basketball that day. But no,
I love it.
We touched on it. My favorite book is Cleveland Wins a Championship. It's about the story of the 2016 Cavaliers. And it's funny, we actually have Michael Jordan in one of the pages because he broke their heart with that big shot in the playoffs the one year. And so, we had to mention that for the misery of Cleveland fans. But no, so we got that one. We got the Tom Brady book I was referencing, just about, their comeback in the Super Bowl down 28-3, and just kind of the saga of Tom Brady and how he went from somebody that nobody really wanted to the best quarterback of all time. Whether you hate him or love him, it's, that can't be argued. So we made a story about that. We have The Curse Ends, which was kind of the inspiration for the whole story. It's it's a story of the 2016 Chicago Cubs. And the fun thing about this book is, if you remember that series, it was just a star-studded affair. There were people from all walks of life that were, coming together and cheering for the Cubs, because as far as we all knew, they were never supposed to win anything. And so we made sure to put some Hollywood in the pages for the parents to, pick out their celebrities that they see that, were all over the TV. We did this one will strike a nerve, I think, more than the Patriots, but we did one about Alabama football.
Oh, wow.
Which, again, it's very tough to argue whether they're the best or not. So we made one about Alabama football, and that, just their history, their traditions, and just the different things that make Alabama football kind of what they are. And of course, we had to talk about that national championship game where Tua came in and took over, and they had that great comeback. And then lastly, our last book, it's a little bit different, but we wanted to do something a little bit outside of sports, but try to tie it into it a little bit. And that's called The Great Space Race. So for this one, when we were doing research about the books and really trying to explore what we wanted to do with it, we thought it would be really fun to tie sports into a historical moment. And at the end of the day, the USA and Russia were pretty much racing to the moon. So we put our fun little track spin on it, turn it into almost like a track story where they're about to take off from the starting line, and just cover the history of it a little bit. So that way, maybe, we're taking people who enjoy space travel and we're taking people who enjoy sports and just kind of rolling it into one and hoping that people enjoy it.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, and it's funny, you and I both grew up in the state of Florida, so we've, grown up around the space program. It's, growing up in Orlando, I remember watching all the shuttles go up, and you could see them like plain sight. It wasn't just watching them at the Cape. You could actually see them in Orlando go up. I mean, I remember them, every one of them. I mean, and I remember going to the Cape and seeing them. So it's cool that you wrote a story kind of tying in the space program and the space race. I think it's something that a lot of kids don't understand. Where we're at today is because of that amazing space race. Even our technology, right? I mean, you think about our iPhones. I saw, I was watching a NASA documentary on a plane. Remember planes when we used to fly places?
That was fun, right?
Remember those? It was great. You flew to a location, you stayed in a hotel, you went to restaurants. It seems like 780 years ago that we used to do this, but we used to, kids. But I was watching, and they had Buzz Aldrin, and he said, your iPhone is equal to what was inside Apollo 11. like crazy when you think of computer, right? Your phone is now as powerful as Apollo 11. I'm like, doing pretty good then.
Right. So yeah. Is it good to be putting it up to our faces then?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we should probably. I don't know. Now I try to use earphones as much as I possibly can. So that's kind of my go-to with that. But so what have you been doing to keep yourself, besides having the wee one? What are you doing to keep yourself busy during this crazy time? It's kind of how we'll wrap up your segment. Like, what series are you binge watching when you're not watching Guppies or Baby Shark or any other things that you have to watch with wee people? And when you're not busy taking care of the 2-week-old and staying on the wife's good side, what do you do for fun?
I mean, that is a great question. So we usually carve ourselves out. Now that the weather's nice around in Oregon and the sun's come out, that's changed things up a little bit. Being stuck inside when it was raining was pretty challenging. But no, I mean, we try to get outside. I do the workouts that the team sends me, but that's work. That's not, what I'm doing for fun. But the way that my wife and my life is right now, once we get my 3.5-year-old down, it's find something that just turns our brains off on TV. Of course we did Tiger King, because if you were a week late to Tiger King, you felt like you were missing out on everybody. So we did a little Tiger King. We did that, and then so now we're just, I don't know. The latest show is Veep. Veep is a good one. We've been watching that, but really we're just watching things at the end of the night to bring some humor to our lives and let us turn our brains off a little bit, because our family life has us so just exhausted at the end of every day.
So let me ask you, how do you feel about Tiger King? I watched all of them. Have you watched all of them? Have you binge watched?
I have, yeah. I haven't watched the newest released episode where they're interviewing people yet, though.
It's an interesting one. I mean, isn't it a weird show? Like, living in Florida always kind of makes me laugh when you think that's like Tampa, right? That's where Carol, isn't that where she lives? She's a Clearwater person.
Of course, it's always Tampa, man.
It's the state of Florida, even during the coronavirus, right? I mean, they're like, hey, the WWE is essential. It's essential. And you're like, not really. Doesn't seem like it should be essential, but it is.
I'm glad that Tom Brady got the contract inked before Tiger King came out and showed the other side of Tampa. So I'm glad that the contract was signed. I love Tampa. I'll represent Tampa. I think it's a great city, but there's always some interesting stories that seem to come from the place that I love so much.
Oh, so true, right? Well, it's been great having you on. I mean, plug away. I showed your link. I'm going to put it up again for folks to go grab the book. Can they get it on Amazon? Tell everybody where they can go get the book, besides this link I just put at the bottom.
Yeah, so we actually made the link on the bottom. We actually made free ebooks for families and for kids who, if you're missing sports, if you need something to change up your daily routine, or, if your kids are trying to find a new way to get into reading, just all the things that I talked about before. So we made the ebooks available for free for 3 of the titles, and they're on that website. If you want to get a hard copy, we have them available on Amazon. We have a website that's ithadtobetold.com. And, of course, feel free to grab them for free. We know that times are tough right now, and hopefully, it can help parents, it can help kids, and it can kind of bridge that gap that they're missing with sports and school, because at the end of the day, that's what we were going for with our books. But, if you want to buy them, if you want to support, we're up on Amazon, we're up on our website, It Had to Be Told, and, any support would be great. But at the same time, feel free to take advantage of the free ebooks, because, we want people to, we want to help out and do what we can to get people through this tough time.
Absolutely. So let me ask you one closing question, because I know people are going to ask. What do you think? Are you going to get a soccer season in this year, or what's your gut telling you? You don't have to cough up anything you're not supposed to, but let's get some insider knowledge. What do you think? Do you think we're going to get a season?
I think we're going to get something. I really do. I think that you have a lot of really smart people and a lot of people that are in touch with the government and trying to figure this thing out, because at the end of the day, I think, the world needs sports, and people know that the world needs sports. It's good for morale. It's good for, it's good for a lot of things. And at the end of the day, I believe that people are going to figure out a way to make something work. If you look at just the history of the country, and if you just look at, dealing with issues and people having resolve and figuring out ways to get creative to, make something work, it's, we have a good history of that. It's kind of one of those situations right now where you have to adapt to the new normal. And luckily, there's a lot of smart people behind the sports world that are, coming up with plans to make sure that we have something. And, I'm keeping faith. I believe that we will come up with something, and I think it'll be different for sure. But, I think right now the world needs sports more than anything. So, well, not more than anything, but the world needs sports. The world needs sports right now to, give people a little hope and bring people together. So I'm hopeful. I think we'll get something, some form of it. And I think when it kicks off, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting, and people will tune in because, at the end of the day, everybody's missing it.
You hit the nail on the head. We are all missing sports. I don't care who you are. It is weird going all this time without sports. I mean, the first week I was like, I'll get through it. Now it's really hard. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And I was saying before you came, if you caught it, but I was talking about the NBA has done this horse competition they did on Sunday. I don't know if you caught it. It was horrible. Like, I was trying to figure it out, but it was so exciting. So it's going to be great. So we're doing Portland sports to start. So we have you, and next up is the sideline great Brooke Olzendam coming on. So we're going to let you go, bud, to go to diaper duty, which is probably like being a goalie, right? Like dodging poo and pee and all the fun things, like, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
like that.
I got to tell you that what I'm doing now has me more tired than anything I've done on the field. So I told my goalie coach that the next hard training we have, I'll never complain about it being too much or being tired ever again. So
I love it.
I'm ready for that.
Hey, thanks for coming on today, Jeff. I appreciate you. We'll have you on in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you're training for a season and can't make it. That's what our wish will be. But if not, we'll have you on again real soon. Thanks, bud. And remember, go check out the books online. You could download 3 books, right, Jeff? 3?
Yep.
3 books online, and you can go check it out. Jeff even reads them, which is impressive. I mean, yeah, that's the difference between soccer players and football players.
Oh.
I said it. Nah, just kidding. I couldn't help it. I love football players. I mean, I'm not bad-mouthing J.J. Watt. Maybe other people, but not J.J. Watt. Never. J.J. should read all your books. Have a dual book on J.J. Anyways, bud, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you real soon.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, bud. So next, we're going to be bringing on our guest from your Portland Trailblazers. If you're not a Trailblazer fan, you're wrong in the first place. I've had the pleasure of meeting Brooke a few times at the games, and it is great to have Brooke on. She, my daughter, we're Blazer fans, and we'll jump into this, but we're going to have Brooke Olzendam on from the Portland Trailblazers. She's our sideline reporter, and we are missing her. We have to watch old Blazer games to get our fix of like just feeling like we're home. We're season ticket holders, so we really miss it. So I'm going to bring Brooke on right now to get to the point. Hey, Brooke.
Hello. How are you?
How are you doing? It's so good to like see you in person besides watching all these old Blazer games that you're on. And we're like, we really miss Moda Center. Like everybody, you know, Daryl on the camera. I never realized how often Daryl got run over by everyone he's at.
I love Daryl. Daryl's about the nicest man you'll ever meet in your whole life. He's always smiling, always, giving a high five. He's one of my favorite people. That's one of the things, Eric, that I miss the most. I've realized is I love covering live sports and basketball. The NBA is my favorite. It's my dream job, and I'm doing it. So I feel so lucky. But part of the of the aspect of a live game and being at Moda Center, I didn't realize just how much the human interaction meant to me. Like Daryl, like all the ushers. I mean, we usually have the same ushers in the same spots. I mean, sometimes they change, but so I have all my people. I got everyone in the spot there usually are, and I just, I miss the routine of it and checking in and saying, how's your son? What's going on? What's new, Terry? What's new? And just talking to the people in your corner, and then every once in a while when it's a ESPN game that we also broadcast, I go to the other side. I'm with a different photographer, John Curry, and then I get to talk to all the fans down there that I usually don't see. It's kind of a treat. And I just miss the interaction. I miss seeing faces I know and meeting new people. And it was, a pleasure meeting you and Maddie. And I hope that maybe she'll make a cameo in this so I can say hi. But yeah, man,
she's in the Zoom call and finishing it up, but she was bragging to the school, her classmates at Mountain here in Beaverton, which they're all fans of yours. I think it's Blazer anything. We just had Jeff Attinella on from the Timbers, and you know how Portland fans are. We are fanatical about our sports. And when you take it all away from us at once, it's just horrible. We don't know what to do. It's like, you just took the Blazers away from us and we don't know what we're supposed. It's been fun while the stream, especially with like Dame and CJ. I mean, is it just me? I have to ask completely off topic. Did CJ's dog grow like a bunch in like 3 weeks, or is it just me?
Well, all you can do is feed the dog at this point and walk the dog. So, I mean, he's getting some exercise, maybe putting on some muscle, eating like a king. But yes, the dog has grown exponentially. Yeah, that picture, I think the Blazers either retweeted it or reposted it on Instagram. That dog is cute, though. I'll say that. And it clearly, they love that dog. And who doesn't love a dog? But it's really cute to watch. Because CJ, he's got a kind of a tough exterior. He's all business. He takes his preparation very seriously and his practice very seriously. So it's kind of fun to watch him, a different side of him where he's very into and obviously like raising his dog, and just a very more sensitive side, I guess, that watching him raise this puppy. So I think those are the stories of this whole, lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it. That you kind of get a glimpse into what these players are doing to pass the time and into their family life too. You mentioned I did an Instagram live, what's called Olzengram live. We have another one tomorrow with Yusuf Nurkic, which should be a treat.
I'll be tuning in for that one for sure.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. You never know what Nurk's going to say, which is one of the reasons I love him. But Dame, brought in his son when we had it, and it was a couple times. So that's just the stuff that people like at this point. We can't watch a game, so let's just find out what the guys are doing and how they're interacting, and that's kind of the content other than classic games that we can get right now, and I think that fans are thirsty for, and I feel the same way. I want as much as I possibly can. Anytime I see one of the guys like, Nurk has joined a live, or anybody, Mello, I'm the first. Gotta get there, see what they're doing, just because that's all we have right now.
Absolutely. And I was laughing because I was thinking, was it last night or 2 nights ago, Dame did the live tweeting of Game 5, which I have chills because just like you, I was up in section 213 with all our crazies and just reliving that. And I got emotional. Like I was watching it, and like when Nurk came out, I remember that moment. I was crying. My wife was right next to me and looked at me, and she's like, "You're bawling like a baby." We were at the game. We were at the Nets game when his leg broke. And I don't know about you, but that was the quietest I've ever heard Moda after a win. It was absolutely like walking out of a funeral that game. So to have him without a cast, with his little skinny leg, come walking out, and of course you're closer. I mean, I'm sure I love your feedback, and I kind of thought of this question. I was like, were you at your little desk when he just came strolling on by midway through the third?
I was at my desk. I was at my desk when he broke his leg too, which was the worst experience of my career. I, like you try to be professional, and I had to gather myself. I was emotional as well, being so close to it, being a fan and a friend of Nurk, and someone who covers him and just respects him and respects the fact that he, turned his career around and took advantage of this opportunity that was given to him to come to a new team and just change everything about his life and his career. And he jumped on it and he took advantage of it. And it was a success story. And so when that happened, it just, that just broke my heart. So I had to pull it together, and we'll get back to the initial question, but it's kind of like a twofold. So when that happened, I was talking to my producer, Dan Hyatt, and obviously he knew I was emotional about it. And I even said, I go, Dan, do I have, because we won that game, and I said, Dan, do I have to do a post-game interview? I mean, it was hard for me to, get it together. He's like, you're a professional. Yes, you do. You'll be fine. Go get it. And he's one of my closest friends. And so, we talked that we're straightforward with him. And he was absolutely right. So I did an interview with Seth Curry, and, we got through it, and he was a professional. I did the best I could, and I think it was okay. And hopefully you couldn't tell that I had been quite emotional right before that. But that was one of those things where, I'll never forget it, but I learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about, being a professional in moments like that, because I had never been in a moment like that. Fast forward to your question. When Nurk came out, same sort of situation. So talking to my producer, I see Nurk. None of us knew. Remember, he didn't even decide he was coming until like towards the
third,
end.
Right?
Yeah, he looked at Amina, his girlfriend. He's like, "How long can it?" This is my favorite story. He's like, "How long will it take you to be ready?" She's like, "Ready, or just ready?" Which is like exactly what I would say. I'd be like, I could go now, or I could do what I would normally do, and I'll be ready in like 25 minutes. So she's like, he got up, he's like, let's go. And so they got in the car and came down, and none of us knew. It was because of course it was spontaneous move on his part. So I'm sitting at my little desk. He walks by me. I was like, oh my gosh. And I grab my mic and, get my talk back because I got to tell our director, Jeff Curtin, because he directs the cameras. And so he has no clue that he's walking out. So that's what I try to do in my position is if I see something that, the guys in the truck can't see, I let them know. If there's an injury, like someone's walking off, I'm like, Mario's walking to the locker room and they'll find a camera to show it because sometimes you can't see everything. So if I see,
you said that a lot this season, I'm sure then.
Oh gosh.
Sorry.
That reminds me for you. So I see him walk out and I say, oh my gosh, Nurk's here. And, I hear Dan and Jeff go, oh my gosh. And so, Jeff quickly gets a camera on him walking out. Oh, I feel the same way. And when you see him just like lean forward and clapping. And he even said, he's like, I knew my presence would help us win. I knew it would change the energy. And it did. I mean, they were down substantially. I mean, not substantially, but like the momentum was not the Blazers at that moment. Nurk comes out, Dame goes crazy. Everyone just kind of. It was the most beautiful couple of minutes. It was like
you took the words out of my. As a fan sitting in the arena and then watching it on TV because of course when you don't think of it.
Yeah.
I remember that game like every moment, but the moment he walked out, I've never watched a crowd shift because we were down. It was tough. I mean, OKC has a talent team, Mr. Rock the baby and all the other wonderful stuff that team has. And, it was just great to see him come out and the camera hit him. And it was funny because I told my wife, I said, is that Nurk? Because I didn't believe it because there's a guy without a cast on his leg. And I was like, I was here 4 weeks ago when you did that. And that was not a pretty injury. I remember it. And to see him there and then watch that game the other night and just relive that shot again. Just to watch all the air. You and I both being in the arena for wherever we both were, you just remember how all the air in the arena kind of whooshed out and then came right back. How loud we all got. It was like the Super Bowl, the NBA championship all wrapped in one. We were dancing out front. They had that stage set up in front of Moda. My wife and I were out there with a bunch of millennials dancing around to music we've never listened to, but we were out there for 2 hours. It was a blast and it was round one, and you're not supposed to behave that way in round one, but it was a beautiful shot. Great series.
You know what I'll say? It was one of those series where, it's round one. It's not like this, like you said, it felt like the Super Bowl. It's the first series. There's a lot more basketball to be played. But the reason it felt like that is because, in my opinion, like you mentioned, there was so much. I would maybe say drama, but back and forth with Russ and Dame, where Dame wasn't. Dame said to us, and this was one of my favorite quotes. He's like, I'm not trash talker. I don't do that. But if you come to my front door, I'm going to answer it. And so Russ came to his front door every day. I'm here again, and so he's going to respond, but he's not over the top responder. He's out there to play basketball. Yes, he's a very intense guy, but he is not about that, So with all that stuff during the series, it just added to it. And you mentioned the Rock the baby, all these little things that could have gotten under Dame's skin that he just instead, but they fueled him. So there's all these things back and forth that just made that series so fun, and you just never knew what was going to happen. So I think that's part of it. And if you guys get a chance, and I know you're such a big fan, you've probably watched this because you saw it on our Twitter and our Instagram, but Mara Baptist, who leads our social media and one of my closest friends, had the best idea. I think it was her, or it might have been Aaron Grossman's. I shouldn't say it's one of the two, or maybe Adams. I'm terrible. Well, someone in our social media, decided to go and find everyone's reaction around town or wherever they were. So they found in bars, in restaurants, at home, in living room. There could be a couple people. It could be a group of dudes in college. And that video of the reactions, I can't tell you how many times I've watched that video in quarantine, now, not back then. I watched it a ton back then, but when I need a pick me up, I go watch that. And I watched it about 20 times in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I watched it a couple times in quarantine. Also, It just makes me feel good. I miss Moda Center so much. I think I'm bugging my account manager at HQ because I'm just like, hey, just random question, hey, do we know the schedule for next season? She's like, Eric, we're not even done with this one. I'm just randomly emailing you because I want to feel connected to the Blazers because I miss going. When you go, you hit. But Brooke, you hit the nail on the head. And I said this from the moment we went into quarantine. It's those attendants at Moda Center. I know ours, Mary, we love you in Section 201. it just, all those folks are amazing. And it was great to see the organization from top to bottom put those game day folks first. And I love that. Absolutely. When you see other teams, organizations not doing that, it's great to be part of the Trailblazers family. As a season ticket holder, we consider ourselves part of the family.
Of course.
It's great to see it. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So I thought that was great that you brought that up, because those folks are so important. I mean, that's income that they count on, you know, for at least 41 games. But we would go to the playoffs this season. I know we would. So
that's part of the reason that, you know, this is so, I mean, it's disappointing to not be playing in general. We all know that. It's, you know, it goes without saying. But I've talked about this a couple of times, just the unknown, because they had a chance. The guys talked about it, and Dame said, you know, I would look at this as one of the biggest challenges in my career is to get this team to the playoffs. And, you know, how gratifying would that have been for him to do so. And we had, you know, the Nurk coming back. That was in the books. That was set. We knew it was happening. Hopefully Zach at some point. And so the frustrating part is the unknown. What could have been, you know, and not to say that it might not come back. I really don't know. People ask me like I have an insight. No one has an insight right now. It's just a fluid situation that we are just every day something new is learned, and we're just kind of sit and wait and wait till we're told what to do. But we do not know what's going to happen. If there's a season, I would love it if everything is under control enough for that to happen. That would be great. But yeah, I just miss it. I miss everybody.
It's funny. That's why I was like, I have to have Brooke on my episode, because I fix of the Blazers. It's like we're watching everything. I loved your interview with Zach, his mustache.
Zach, I love that.
I love our team. Like, I love how they're so fun to watch, and they're very, you know, I've run into them after games at restaurants. I'm not naming restaurants because I don't want to lose the fun to be able to go to those. Those guys are so down to earth. We've met a few players' moms, and like, they're so cool, because we're like, we don't want to harass. I'm not saying anybody's name, but my wife and I were at a restaurant. My wife ends up in the, you know, washing her hands right next to a player's mom. And my wife's like, we won tonight. And she's like, oh, do you have a player on the team? And she's like, no, we're season ticket holders, but we use the we phrase. I'm like, hey, we give the Blazers money, so therefore we're part of the team. I'm like, we show up like you guys do. We wear uniforms.
No, and you know what I want to say? I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up at some point. Today is my mom's
Appreciation Day. You're right. I'm glad. I forgot it. I'm looking at my notes. I'm glad you're running with it.
Okay, sorry. Let me get situated. I don't know what just happened. Today is Blazers Fan Appreciation Day. So I have a video I'm going to put out on Twitter and Instagram in a little bit. Nothing big, just me thanking everybody. But I mean, for me personally, and it is personal. That is the word, is personal. Since I started with this organization, these fans have truly become family. And that sounds hokey, but I don't care. It's true. It is so true, because when I say Rip City community, it is such a strong group of people that truly care about each other, that have each other's back, that you watch the interaction and it's like you'd think these people had known each other, you know, since they were kids. And it's just their love of the Blazers, and that brings them together. And it's such a beautiful thing for me to see. And so I've gotten the opportunity to interact with so many of them, and not just on social media, but at games. You know, you meet someone on Twitter that sends you a message. I'd love to, you know, maybe see you sometime. Like, come on down. You get to see them in person. Then you start a friendship. Next year, the same thing. Like with you, you know, I've saw you and your daughter. You know, that became a thing where I saw you a couple times after that. And, you know, how you doing? What's new? Like, those are the most beautiful things to me. These interactions that start with you know, a quick, maybe a message on Twitter, and then you meet the person and you're friends for life. And then, you know, people that you never meet, because some people can't come to games. That doesn't mean they're not fans, and they interact throughout every game. They're always on, you know, social media, and you feel like you know that person. So it's just, this community is so impressive and amazing. And I feel so lucky to be able to work for this organization and have the fans that we do, because they're not just passionate fans, but they are educated, and they know what they're talking about, and they know the game, and they know the players, and you can't get anything by them. I'm just saying that it's Fan Appreciation Day.
Best fans in the NBA, but we're both partial to one team.
That's exactly what I was going to end with. Best fans in the NBA.
Well, we love our team. We love what you do. We love Amira. We love the entire. Like, it's funny. We know everybody who's not a player. As a Blazer fan, it's funny. You get to know everybody. You're like, yes, like you're cheering for him, clapping at the season ticket holder event we did in February. It was the same way. We saw people, and I'm like, hey, that's that. And just like, we're a bunch of goofballs, but that's how we are. We're the best fans in the NBA. We're loud. For a team that doesn't get a lot of respect and our players don't get that much respect, I love this team. I love the organization and everything. Yeah. I thank you, Brooke, for coming on. We got to run to our next guest. Thank you so much. I'd love to have you on in a couple of weeks again to talk more. Maybe we'll have an NBA season we'll be prepping for. Maybe.
Let's hope so.
I'm with you. We need it. I'm sick of horse and all these other horrible things that they're forcing us to watch.
I know. We'll miss it. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Brooke. Thank you so much. Have a great Wednesday.
You too.
So we're going to bring on our next guest. We went a little long, but it's sports and I do that. But I have my next guest coming on. I am a big fan of our next guest. Her content on social media just motivates me. I'm a huge fan of TED Talks, and one of her TED Talks actually caught my attention and actually drove me to start following her on social media. And then my wife started reading her books. And then it was like, wow, we both like the same person on social media, which is weird because we both don't always find, I'm a, Simon Sinek person and she's, all these other people fans. So I'm going to bring on our next guest, Heather Monahan, and she'll come on. So here we go. Heather, sorry for the delay. Thank you for waiting. We're happy to.
Sure. No problem. Glad to be here with you.
Oh, we're excited to have you on our first episode. We've been talking sports the entire time, so let's talk some business. I know the business world, people are out there freaking out. I've seen your posts about, keeping your head up. Before we jump into that, I'll give you a brief second to kind of give your, who you are, what you do. I mean, obviously I said you're Heather Monahan, but kind of give folks on what your background is.
Sure. So I have a 25-year track record in corporate America. I was most recently a chief revenue officer. And 2 years ago, at the height of my career, I was fired by another woman. And I took that opportunity to reinvent myself and pivot. And I wrote and self-published my first book, Confidence Creator. I have it right here to show you. And that went #1 on Amazon's bestseller list in business motivation and business autobiographies. And I started a speaking career as a result of promoting the book. And I became a keynote speaker with GDA speakers and a number of other speaker agencies. And then I launched my podcast, Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan. And I just signed a book deal with HarperCollins Leadership to put a new book out called Leapfrogging Villains in 2021.
I love that title, I can speak English, I swear. Leapfrogging English. Oh my God. You go ahead and say that again because I just messed my own self up. See, you don't let Marines talk. That's the bad part. We just get excited and just say weird things like leapfrogging English.
Leapfrogging Villains.
Leapfrogging Villains. I love it. So you've spoke on some pretty big stages, right? I mean,
last September, I had the opportunity to interview Sarah Blakely and her husband, Jesse Itzler, live at a really large marketing conference in Boston. I've been the keynote speaker for the She Summit, speaker for Harvard. I'm speaking for Harvard again remotely next week. So I've been all over the country, speaking at MGM Resorts, Royal Caribbean, a lot of different organizations, and it's been a lot of fun.
So let me ask you this, as a professional speaker, how hard is it as we were going into big swing speaking season to be basically on the sidelines? You guys, and I say this to my athletes that I work with, this has to be hard for you because you're used to your routine, like your off season, much like an athlete, and then it's speaking time. You've prepped, you have your talking points, you know where you're going to be traveling, and poof, it's all gone, or you're doing it from your home. So what's it like going from one mentality to all of a sudden everything is remote from your house?
The first word that comes to mind when you ask me that question is resilience, which is really about evolution, change, and commitment to change. And for me, in a very strange way, I've only been public speaking for a little over a year and a half. I'm not used to the routine yet. I'm learning. I'm still a rookie. So in some strange way, it's this great blessing that I got fired 2 years ago and I had to learn how to be resilient, learn how to reinvent myself because I'm in that cycle right now. I'm getting really good at resiliency. And to have this happen and obviously to get a lot of speaking engagements canceled and I just got my last check for a speech I gave literally the day before we were shut down. It was scary at first. And then I thought to myself, okay, hang on. wait a minute, you lost, your chief revenue officer position after you'd been at the company for 14 years and you reinvented yourself immediately. I can reinvent myself now. And so I've been really immersing myself in all of the different virtual event platforms that are out there. I've joined and spoken for a number of different summits already. I've become a virtual keynote speaker on Zoom. And I even had a company hire me to essentially put together this happy hour event for their employees to keep them positive and motivated. So I'm watching this business unfold, evolve, and by being committed to resiliency and changing and evolving with it, it's just going to look a little different and be on each of us to see how can we bring our unique value proposition to that opportunity.
I love it. So you hit the nail on the head. I've been talking about adapt and overcome since we got into this quarantine. It's something that I've said my entire career, thank Marine Corps. It's the Marine mentality. I was just talking to another Marine entrepreneur yesterday, and they were talking about the Marine mindset. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, we all kind of spin it in a different way, but people really need, I know there's two theories here, and you can correct me, and I want you to kind of run with this. There's two theories of this, right? A lot of people either put their head in the ground and like, this is the worst thing ever, or you continue to push forward and just make, I hate using the word pivot because I think of it as you completely change your position, is you just make this adapt and overcome. You make what you already do to the next level. You're obviously doing that, doing virtual summits, getting hired by companies to speak to them. So what advice do you have to people who are like, I can't take it anymore. If they're going to tell me I'm going to have to go for 30 days, or I've read some reports where they're saying we could maintain social distancing till 2022, which I'm not even a fan of that. I'm just going to say, if they tell me that, I'm probably going to need to talk back from the edge because I really don't like social distancing. It drives me nuts. I'm a hugger. I like handshakes and dap, and you don't get to do that anymore. It's like all taken away from you. Besides my kids and my wife, that you can only high five those people so often before it's like, I need to high five other people. So what's your advice to folks who are struggling during this just long solo routine that we're all kind of stuck in right now?
Well, number one, get a Peloton because you can virtual high five everybody. And it's so cool. I'm obsessed. I ride my Peloton every day. And it's literally like being in a class and high fiving everyone. It's super fun. So I love that technology solution that we've been offered. But here's what I would say. It really is a pivot, right? Nobody signed up for this. Nobody wanted it. But when we start fast forwarding and looking 2 years down the road, come on, we don't even know what announcement's going to be made tomorrow. We cannot do that to ourselves. We are too smart. So it's really important to focus on today and live in the moment and live in the present, because we can get overwhelmed if we start looking too far ahead. Now, some people are saying, well, Heather, you're lucky. Someone actually says to me, you're lucky you got fired 2 years ago because you started building an online business. I didn't know that I was building that. I had no idea, right? I was scared to death. However, I kept taking action, moving myself forward, being transparent with people, being the real me, and putting my value out online. And people started responding and asking, oh, it'd be great if you'd write a book someday, or I wish you had an online course, or, I wish I could hear you on a podcast. So I started listening to what the audience was saying. Well, first I took a chance by putting information out on social media and putting myself out there. And that's an action step anyone can take. Because if you put your unique value online, you're going to start seeing opportunity and seeing what people gravitate towards, which is your unique value proposition. You've got to identify what problem you can solve for the audience and then start letting people know that you can solve that problem for them. If you're not ready to do that, you're not ready to have a personal brand, you're scared, your confidence is low, you're challenged, what I would say is go on Fiverr, go on Upwork. Indeed, there's a lot of websites and platforms right now that have opportunities for people to essentially become, a contract worker. You can tutor kids online right now, because I'm now a teacher during the day as well as I'm working from home. It's really hard, and I'm not great at new math. So it makes a lot of sense for me to go online and find a virtual tutor for my son to help him. So figure out what your value prop is. What is it that you do really well? What's your expertise? And everyone has one. And then start showcasing that and monetizing it, at least here in the short term, till you can figure out what your next step is.
Knock the ball out of the ballpark on that one. I love that answer. It's great. And you were right about Peloton. As a Peloton owner, I absolutely agree. Ride every day. We're doing the challenge where you ride every day. Our whole like 3 out of the 4 of us in the house ride every day. You're right. It is. I'm a big fan of like Cody and Jess King and just all that energy. And
No,
Andre
you have
Toussaint,
to do,
that guy
you
just
have
gets
to
me
do
fired
Alex.
up.
No way. My favorite teacher is Alex Toussaint. He's so tough, and I have the best numbers ever and kill it in his class. He really pushes you, and I respond so well to that. I love that class.
Yeah, I do that one, and then I fell in love with hill rides, which I don't know why anybody would want to do a 20-minute climb, but you could burn like 600 calories, and you feel really good when you've had a bad day. I swear by the Peloton, so it's great that you said it, but it is ironic, don't you think, that in November, Peloton was being trashed for their commercial, but they're probably one of the most profitable fitness companies right now because it's in-home, they're still delivering, and it's a great product.
Okay, so what you just did me a favor. You're supporting that comment I made earlier, which is we can't look too far down the road because we don't know what the future holds. You made a great point. Peloton was getting buried. The company was not doing well just a short window of time ago. However, due to some things that were out of their control, the company, I wish I owned stock in Peloton right now. That company is blowing up. No one could foresee that this was going to happen. And the slight pivot that they've made versus what a Soul Cycle or a Flywheel made, they didn't take their company online. And a year ago, those two companies were flourishing. No one knows what the future holds. And just because we don't know doesn't mean it's bad.
I love that. That is perfect. That is, I mean, and it's true. Everybody just judges a book by its cover and runs. And I think one thing that we have learned during quarantine, and you're right, you can't predict the future. We don't know when the next press conference is going to come up, what we're going to be told. I mean, I'm hearing some cities and some states, I read right before we went on air, Germany is going back to work on Monday. They're opening their government up and doing this. So you're seeing the world restart, and people couldn't have predicted that because you're looking going, oh, it's going to be till June or some other horrible date. We're never going to have it. And I know for me, working in the sports world, and the two guests we had before you, both being heavy in the sports world, they don't have the answers, but they could change at any time. We've been seeing Major League Baseball is actually doing the largest group testing of any group period. It's cool as Major League Baseball, but they're trying to test how we could get these tests done in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so we could get back to our day-to-day. And they're going to use those for not just sports, but for conferences, for church, for all these things that we want to be able to go to so we can get our life back to somewhat normal. And that's why I swear by adapt and overcome. I think that's why I'm a big fan of yours. Actually, I know that's why I'm a fan of yours, because really you have to look at it from the bright side, or you could just put your head down in the dumps. Trust me, I've been there. I'm sure that you've been there I've lost a job before. I'm sure losing a job, it's not wonderful by any means. So we have a lot of people unemployed right now, and their heads are in the dirt, and they're like, oh God, it's just never going to get better. It is. And it's great to hear you confirm that. So tell folks how they can find you all over social and plug away.
Yeah. So my website is heathermonahan.com. I have a free accountability partner program. So if you're needing some support right now, sign up for that program. It is free. I have a free ebook there, How to Build Confidence in 30 Days. If you need to get jump started, go ahead and sign up for all of my free offerings. I'm at Heather Monahan. I'm on all social media, and my book is called Confidence Creator, and my show is called Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan.
You are awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have you on in a few weeks to talk about, but a little bird told me that you're going to be on national TV in the next week. So a little bird told me this. So they can see you there on national TV also. So exciting times ahead for Heather. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you coming on. Make sure to go check it out. Buy Heather's book. It is one of the best you'll out there. And check out her TED Talk. It's fascinating. It's empowering. And it's like 15 minutes of your time. So go check it out.
It's
Heather,
only 10.
10. Sorry, I get all... they're between 10 to 15 minutes. I listen to Simon Sinek's TED Talk once a week. So I kind of get caught up. So good. He's the best, isn't he? Like his TED Talk makes you go, oh, okay, I'm good. I've been watching that for like 10 years since somebody sent it to me. Jill Rowley, I was at a conference Jill Rowley was speaking at, and she's like, you got to check out Simon Sinek. And I was like, and then I was like, okay. And then I started watching him every day. And then I turned it into at least once a week. It's very empowering TED Talk. And I watch yours probably a couple times a month. So I love good TED Talks. So everybody go check it out. Heather, thanks again for coming on the show. We appreciate you. Have yourself a great day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. So we wait for our last guest. Hopefully everybody's taking in all of this just greatness. I've loved every guest that we've had on today. You know, Jeff coming in, kind of telling us the dad life for athletes, and you know, just we're waiting for our last guest, by the way, in case you're wondering why I'm grabbing my phone. I would not normally do that, but I'm a one-man show. My producer's doing homework, so it's a little difficult. So we have to wait for the producer to, I'll produce at the same time. But, you know, it's good to see these folks come on, you know, hear about what they're doing. It was great to catch up with Brooke. If you're not a Blazer fan and you're watching somewhere else in the country, check out the Portland Trail Blazers. We do pride ourselves. Our fan base is fanatical. I would compare us to some of these big market teams. I mean, I think our fans are more loyal than some of the fans in the biggest markets around. We pay attention to our team. We know a lot about our team, and we have access to our team. But Brooke is amazing. She's a fabulous sideline reporter who truly takes the time, and she is just an amazing help to our who has decided to pursue journalism. So it's great to have an influence like Brooke. So just sitting here filling time. I did follow up. I did mention Germany did announce as we were going on air that they will be opening up their government starting next week. So they're going to start going back to work on Monday. Obviously, they have a whole bunch. I haven't jumped into the article. It literally popped on about a second before we went on air. So you do have that news coming out of Germany today. So we have that. The sports world, we're really hoping to get answers. And you heard it from Brooke, and you saw Jeff talk about it. They really don't have the answers. The answers aren't out there. There's a lot of people who say they have insider knowledge, and they clearly don't. It's one of those things that people just want to just go, oh, yeah, I know this is going to happen. And really, you don't have the answers. There's so much that takes to put fans and players and personnel back into the fold, because we have to put together, you heard from Jeff talking about getting in shape. You know, they do get workouts. They are getting all of these things, but it is going to take time. And I think people need to remember that. I had a good friend of mine. He'll be a guest either later this week or next week. He was talking about when we would be able to go back to church. He's a pastor. And I said, you know, people want to do that. I know the South has rebelled, and they're like, you're taking our freedom if you do this. That's not what we're doing. This doesn't have anything to do with socialism. It's called being safe, and it's something that we all have to do. I think it's funny that people have taken this where everywhere else in the world. I actually had people block me and come after me on social media because I said, is this like a Southern thing that you guys are so offended that you have to watch church by like your phone? Like, is it that important to spread coronavirus to each other? I mean, we're keeping the spread. On a side note, I did have to laugh yesterday. The NFL put out, thank goodness the Niners didn't win the Super Bowl, because if won the parade that they would have had, they would have spread the virus. I was just like, yeah, that's what would have happened. The Niners are like, yeah, thank God we didn't win because we saved lives. Don't spin it that way. Really wanted a Super Bowl championship. Trust me, as a Niner fan, we wanted a Super Bowl. We would have risked coronavirus to have our parade. But what about the people in Kansas City? I mean, did someone? I haven't seen the spread in Kansas City. I don't know. I actually don't have answers, and I don't want to. I was waiting for our next guest. Hopefully, he's able to join us. You guys have been incredible. I've been watching the numbers as we're doing this, so it's been great to see you guys on here. If you have any comments, concerns, questions you want to throw at me while we wait for our next guest, would love to have you guys fire off some questions. While we're sitting here, I do want to thank my amazing team that helped put this together. We have just, amazing folks helping me get guests, from Matt Sheldon to Butch Seltzer to, my own little crazy little world of folks that are sending me folks that we should, work with. Some folks at the network. I appreciate you guys for sending me guests. It's been great. My daughter, Madison Mitchell, she's awesome. She's actually helped be a producer. She's learning more. We just started back to school here in Oregon, so she had to get her schedule right. So she had to do homework, and homework's more important than Dad's Facebook TV show. So we have priorities in life, damn it. But yeah, I want to thank those folks, of course, my wife and all those people who support us while we do this. And my photographer, I'll give a shout out to Lee Gochenhauer. Dude took some amazing photos, and I'm able to use those for production for the show. So grateful for him, because I was looking at past shows that we've done, years ago when I was Joe Nobody. I'd never been on TV, and I was laughing because I was like, man, the pictures I used were horrible. I mean, like just awful, like horrible, like horribleness. So, hey, I think we have a guest coming on. We do. Don't go anywhere. If you waited for Brandon, his screen is doing something funky. Let's see what happens here. I don't know if I want to add it until I see his picture because he's kind of that. Let's see what happens when we do this. Brandon, can you,
Oh my
we
God.
can't see you, but can you hear us?
Yeah.
See us? Oh, you're very linesy right now.
Yeah, I see that. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can definitely hear. Maybe you're being, I think the Clintons are after you, man. I think this is what this is.
Yeah.
This is the last thing Jeffrey
That's
Epstein saw too.
absolutely-
I mean, it's weird. So,
Wow.
this is great. We'll do the.
Do you want me to log out and try again?
Yeah, log out, come back in, and I'll keep just plugging away. So just come back in, take your time,
I'm
bud.
sorry.
You're good. Don't worry about it. Everybody can't wait for you to come in, so we're good. So Brandon will come in. Technical difficulties, baby. This is what we're doing. I think that's what's amazing, right? We've all been watching shows. If you caught Saturday Night Live this weekend, it was 100% remote. You've been watching Jimmy Fallon. All these shows, I got to give a shout out to one of the shows that I am a big fan of. And we actually have the executive producer of Tamron Hall Show coming on this week. Is Tamron Hall Show. Her numbers are amazing. They've almost tripled. And she's doing her show from her kitchen in New York City. You got to love it. She's been showing behind. They started going back to full hour-long segments today. 2 days ago. See, this is the problem. Now I don't even know what day it is. I know today was supposed to be tax day. It's also today was supposed to be the final regular season home game for the Portland Trailblazers. So as a fan, fan appreciation day, we have a cool event. The team did put something together. It will be cool to see Brooke's video come out soon. These folks doing remotes, it doesn't take a lot. And I've been telling people that, like, get on, be live. And it doesn't take a whole bunch. I kind of overdid it, but it's a Marine thing. You just have to be one of us to understand how crazy we are with, I want it to be perfect. So there's some things I already know I want to change, but this has been great. We'll wait for Brandon to come back on, but definitely just this remote life. It's been very interesting. It just takes some lighting. You don't have to be picky anymore. Just find good sound. I think people just need to get comfortable being in front of a camera. This show is a perfect option. If you've done a lot of radio and you're like, hey, I want to show my face, come on our show. We'd love to chat with you. I am excited next week. Wait a minute. Hold on. We're getting excited here. Now there's a white screen. I knew that out of 4. Oh my goodness. I see his face. We're bringing him in. Brandon, we see you. Look at you. There's Brandon. There's the man there. Look at him.
All right, let me lower my camera. Give me just a second.
There you go.
Oh,
look how perfect he looks. Look at that. Technology.
Oh,
folks.
whoops! I actually made it worse.
It's technology. We're good. If you've been watching Fallon or any of those shows, trust me, they're using horrible cameras. We're just lucky we have mics. We're ahead of them.
Here, how's that?
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us good?
Hi.
Hey, bud. How are you
Great.
doing?
Yeah, I'm in the air. Hold on. Let me, because I had to,
Yes.
All right.
You're
There
beautiful.
we go.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank
that
you.
hairstyle-
I'm in my
Your
dad's
background
office
is-
in Nebraska, which is
Where are you right now? You're in the Midwest. Right?
unbelievable. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest at my parents' house, and my dad does not keep a tidy office, so every time I turn around, I'm knocking things over. Anyway, where are you?
I am in Portland, Oregon. So
Portland. Oh God, sorry.
home of all things bad in Portland, Oregon. Home of Antifa,
Antifa,
as we like to say. Yes, our friends at Antifa are
been
here.
there.
Yeah, they love us here.
Yes.
They love the military here. No, they don't. They love law enforcement. No, they don't love those. I'm trying to think of what they love here in Portland. We do love our sports, but our politics here is a little different. That's why I brought you on. You are the founder of the Walkway movement. So kind of tell folks a little bit about the Walkway movement. Some people are familiar. I know, of course, who you are. We both are connected through Matt Sheldon, but I've been a fan of yours. You were a keynote at CPAC this year, probably the last time a group of people got together in a group, right? I mean, think about that. That was just a few months ago, like a month ago, 2 months ago, we had CPAC, and now we're all confined to our houses. So
yes, you're asking about Walkway.
Yeah, kind of tell everybody how you came up with it. Tell your little story about it. I love your story, but I want you to share it better than coming from me.
Sure. So yeah, I'm a former Democrat, former liberal who ended up walking away from the Democratic Party in 2017 after voting. I voted for Hillary Clinton and was, traumatized when Donald Trump got elected, because I was a real loyalist, I think, to the liberal media, to the Democrat, to the ideology of liberalism. And so, I had fully believed everything that the media kept telling me about Donald Trump and his supporters, and that he was a racist, a bigot, and a homophobe, all these terrible things. And so I kind of went on this quest to try to understand, number one, how did the media get it so wrong? Because they kept saying that, he had like a 3% chance of winning, and that, that there was no chance he was going to get elected. But also, why would anybody vote for this horrible person? And so I kind of went on this journey of research to try to answer those two questions. And it took me down a pretty long, extensive rabbit hole, which ultimately opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I think the thing that was the most impactful to me was the revelation that if you're a minority in America, be it Black, brown, LGBT, even a woman, what have you, that the liberal media, the Democrats, and again, the ideology of liberalism at large is really exploiting and manipulating fear to try to control the way you feel, the way you think, the way you behave, ultimately the way that you vote. And that, for them, if you are in a minority class of person, they need you to keep believing that you are oppressed, that you are a victim, that you are trapped in a system of oppression from which you cannot break free, you cannot overcome, that you can't succeed, that the American dream is not alive and well and there for the taking for all of you. And so I found it to be, very, very insidious, evil, detrimental. I wanted to do something about it, and I wanted to be outspoken. So I put out a 6-minute video in 2018, almost 2 years old, May of 2018, detailing all of the reasons why I was walking away from liberalism in the Democratic Party, and I encouraged other people to do the same. And so that's how the movement was born. And now it's much, much more than that, but that's where we started.
That's awesome, Brandon. I mean, you definitely have an amazing story. And, I have had a lot of friends, right? I mean, I kid, you said something that made me just laugh because I saw this on social media before we went on. Somebody said, are the same people who are doing the data and everything and predictions for Corona the same people who did the election predictions in 2016 that said Hillary was going to win by a landslide? It definitely feels that way, right? I mean, somebody who's sat here and you see, so let's jump into a question I want to ask you. So every day we have these press conferences, and the president of the United States of America gets up and addresses the country, and it turns into what I've deemed as like a WWE show, right? It's an attack constantly on the president of everything he does. Like, people could do the job better. And I think my viewpoint as a veteran, as a Marine, my viewpoint is I don't think anybody could do this job perfectly as the president during a pandemic. You only are as good as the data you're given. It's kind of like being a general in war, right? You can't go up, everybody's here. Right. So why do you think the media has this gigantic hate trip on President Trump over everything he does, despite the fact that our numbers are lower than they predicted and the nation is slowly recovering? Why do you think the media just has this thing for him?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, let's acknowledge and identify the fact that this behavior from the media is certainly not specific to coronavirus. Yeah. I mean, this has been from the moment that he came down that escalator and announced that he was running for president. That's when this all began. But why are they reacting this way, and why the hate for him? Well, two things. First of all, according to them, Hillary Clinton was supposed to win, and she didn't, and they still have not gotten over it. And they're not going to get over it again when he wins again in November of 2020. we're going to see round 2 of this behavior, and I think that it is going to be crazy on steroids. If you think you've seen crazy now, you've seen nothing compared to, I think, what's coming. But I think the second part of it is that I think that they're less angry that Donald Trump got elected president because they hate him. I think they're more angry that they realized for themselves and had their eyes open to the fact that they do not, in fact, control the American people the way that they thought that they did. I think that they got a slap in the face in November of 2016 when he got elected through I think the completely unexpected realization that, oh my God, we don't run the show the way that we thought that we did. I think that they thought that, Hollywood celebrities would carry the day. I think that they thought that their 24-hour negative messaging would get the result that they wanted, and none of it worked. And so they had to, I think, identify and resign themselves to the fact that they do not, in fact, control the people of America as they thought that they did and wish that they did, but they don't.
I love that you said that, because I've been telling my liberal friends who were telling me how great Bernie was. And I'm like, number one, you guys have horrible choices that you bring forward. I personally, if I was going to pick a Democrat, both of them have long ago bailed out. I was a Pete Buttigieg fan just because he's a veteran, and I thought I love younger folks being president, not the elderly. Nothing against old folks, but I'm just saying I like a younger president that at least has served. If you're going to go ask people to go do a man's job or go fight for their country, they should at least know about what it is. That's my personal preference. And Tulsi Gabbard, right? And she came out against Hillary, which I loved. As someone who's had conversations with survivors from Benghazi, my disdain for Hillary Clinton goes very deep for what she did to those folks. But I mean, if you look at it, perfect example was Bernie did really well as they started into the primaries, and then socialism became this forefront. And our country just, we're not built on socialism. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, or middle. Socialism does not work in America, never will. And I don't care about Antifa, who decides that they are comparing themselves to brave men like my grandfather storming the beaches of D-Day, and they're going to come take away all of us evil people. I'm like, number one, you live in your parents' basement, so I really don't think you're going to be taking over the world. And bullets go right through those little dumpster things, those little plastic trash cans you hold up that you think actually stop something. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think at any time America would ever become socialist?
Do I think it will?
Do you think it would ever? Do you think there's a time that we would, people are trying to compare today's pandemic to socialism, right? Like, this is your taste of it. You're stuck in home. You have to listen, and now the mean man in the White House is telling me to stay home. And I'm like, well, he hasn't really given an order. He gave you a recommendation. There's a big difference. If you want an order, that means that my friends in camouflage will be roaming your streets in Humvees and speaking through microphones. But again, you've probably watched Outbreak one too many times on Netflix, when the reality is it's a recommendation and we're actually doing our part. It's frustrating, but I mean, my question to you is Bernie, did well until his own party took him out, but socialism is what he's built on. And now kind of you're seeing crazy, kitty smeller frickin' Biden sitting here, kind of starting to show some of the socialist side. Do you think ever in our time in our history coming forward that we're at a point where our country is going to become more of a socialist country?
Well, I don't think it's impossible, for sure. So I would, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it can never happen in America. I mean, I hear people all the time on the conservative side give these very sort of impassioned speeches saying, America will never become a socialist country. Well, that's not for sure. Nothing is for sure. And I mean, I think if we went back historically, for many countries that embraced different forms of government, which ended up causing mass murder, which ended up causing world wars, which ended up causing complete and total destruction of their society. None of them would have said before that their country would ever do that, and yet they did. So we can't act as though it's impossible or that nothing like that could ever happen. What we have to do is just continue to try to educate as many people as possible, have conversations, and try to steer the course and change change the course of the ship on that. I mean, the left wants very, very much to pull us as far over to the extreme left as possible, which is in that direction toward socialism and communism. And I mean, they're not even hiding that. You know, I mean, they call themselves democratic socialists now. Socialist. There is, I mean, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the fact that there is a movement, that Bernie Sanders does have a movement of people, and that, yeah, he'll probably never run again. My God, I would think he would not run again, but but you know, someone else will, and so this idea is not going to die with him. And so we have to stay on top of it, and we have to keep, but it's not enough to just simply argue with people, tell them how stupid they are, and bark about how, you know, 100 million people have died because of socialism. You know, I mean, obviously these numbers don't impress people, or they end up thinking, well, that's socialism. That's different than democratic socialism. So we have to somehow break through to people's minds and get them to understand that this is not a good idea. And we have to somehow reverse the stigmatism too, which surrounds capitalism, which surrounds the pursuit of, you know, freedom, free markets, and the American dream, and the ability to attain wealth. It's not, you know, the demonization of wealth. I mean, I think we have to somehow communicate better methods surrounding that too.
You hit the nail on the head, Brandon. I talk about that often with a lot of folks. I mean, especially working with celebrities and athletes, you know, they make a lot of money, and it seems like people punish those who make money. I mean, I've seen folks on national TV in the last, you know, 72 hours come out and say, well, I don't know why these pro athletes aren't just going back to work on Monday and starting to do it. And I'm like, well, they're trained. Their job is this is what they're compensated. And even for those of us who own our own businesses and work hard, we're punished for making money. It's like you're an enemy and everybody wants their handout. And I think people are seeing, well, $1,200 doesn't go a long way. Everybody who got their stimulus packages the last 3 days, I'm sorry, $1,200. I mean, are you going to depend on that? What are you going to do? Pay half your rent with that? I mean, I don't know. If you live in New York, you're definitely not paying your rent for $1,200 unless you're living in a, you know, the size of my phone box. But I mean, it's an interesting place we live in, right? I mean, the pandemic has, I think, fractured America even more when you thought it would bring us closer together. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that? I mean, you're right now in Nebraska, right?
Yeah, I'm in Nebraska. I left New York 3.5 weeks ago, and I've been staying in Omaha, Nebraska, and right now with my parents. They live on a little cattle ranch in northeast Nebraska. So anyway, I am in Nebraska right now, but it's you know, $1,200 too. This is for people, you know, a lot of us have been out of work now for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's not like we're talking about $1,200 for the week. We're talking about $1,200 for almost the entire month. And that's, you know, for lost wages for groceries and food and, or, you know, entertainment, whatever. I don't know if there is much entertainment right now, but we have to have our internet, don't we? Yeah. And we have to have Netflix and Hulu. Yeah, it's $1,200 is not going to go very far for a lot of people. So if the idea is to try to, you know, provide some relief and stimulus, I hope looking at something a little more ongoing, since it doesn't seem to be our choice to shut our businesses down. And don't get me started on that, because I just, you know, I on a daily basis, I'm scratching my head and going, what the hell are we actually accomplishing here? I mean, but I think the reaction has been a little over the top.
I agree with you. So Brandon, your day job, your normal one, are you still doing hair, or am I wrong? Just
no.
Is that still your?
Nope. I am. I'm the CEO and founder of the Walkway. Are you there?
Just want to make sure I was right. I don't know. Some people.
My signal okay?
Oh yeah, your signal's good, bud.
Oh, okay. I thought you lost me for a moment. No. No, I'm running the Walkway Cane, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You know, last year alone, I think I did something around 87 events I was a keynote speaker at 47 different events. We went to 12 or more colleges last semester. We did produced about 25 walkaway town halls and rallies for the Black community, Hispanic community, LGBT community around the country. And in addition to that, we created an educational video series called The Hard Truth, in which we shot 10 episodes. 4 of those are out now. We have 6 ready to go. Those will be out soon. And then, of course, we just, it's an ongoing volunteer. We have 87 people in our volunteer organization, and I have about 5 to 7 people in my paid core team. So it's beyond a full-time job. And so that's what keeps me really busy. I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of people still are just not aware of how much we're doing. This is not just a Facebook group anymore. It's not just a trending hashtag. We're an organization that's out busting our butts every day, 7 days a week around the country. So it's a lot of work.
That's a good segue to kind of put a bow on this. So Brandon, tell folks how they could, if they're interested and want to be part of your movement, where do they go? How do they get started?
Well, I would really recommend that people go to walkwaycampaign.com. When they go to our website, they'll see a couple of things that should be of interest. I'd like people to pay attention to. One is a button that says join the movement. If they click that button, they'll be redirected to our Facebook group where the whole movement began. And I think that people will really love being a part of that community and part of that network. We currently have about 240,000 Patriots in the Walkway campaign on Facebook, tens of thousands of written and video testimonials. So please join that group. You're going to love watching those videos, reading those stories. They're really incredible. And make your own video, make your own story, Walkway story. And please donate to our grassroots organization. That's also on walkwaycampaign.com. You can make a donation. It's tax deductible. We're a 501c3. And those dollars help get us in more college campuses, in front of more minority communities around the country, and getting people, educating people to wake up and walk away. And that's what we're really trying to do, is get people to leave the left, get people to leave the Democratic Party, and try to reach as many people as we can before 2020. So please donate. And if people would like to volunteer, they can do that as well. And go to walkwaycampaign.com. That's how you find out how to donate, how to volunteer, and how to be a part of the movement. Walkwaycampaign.com.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, I want to thank you for being our guest today on the show. Oh, keep going. You got more?
And follow me. Yeah, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Brandon Straka. Thank you very much.
Sweet. Thanks, Brandon. So thanks for coming on today, bud. Greatly appreciate you. I've been following you for quite some time. You're doing amazing work. I'm a huge fan of the walkaway movement. It's very important, especially living here on the West Coast. It's a movement that I know a lot of people want to jump behind, because President Trump has been doing an outstanding job. No matter what anybody says, the numbers show it. We're not judging the pandemic. People are like, oh, look at the numbers the last 4 weeks. Yeah, right. Like everything's shut down. How are we supposed to make money? Like juggling? I'm not very good at that. So it's been great. It's great to see you retweeted by the president. That's pretty cool too. And I've seen you get to hang out with the man. So pretty awesome. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate you greatly, buddy. Right. Have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you soon. So everybody, that's the show. We went a little long. We're not supposed to go almost an hour and a half. But there's no rules for a reason. And that's why it's on here. So if this becomes TV, then obviously we'll keep it an hour. But it's an hour and a half. So what the hey? Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Tomorrow's guests include Josh Phillips from Epic Times. Just put out an amazing video last week talking about China and getting some insight on what's really going on with coronavirus back in China and the real story, what's coming here that we're not being told. We also have Oz Sultan coming on the show tomorrow. Oz is going to come on and talk about, cyber terrorism, talk about social media cyber terrorism. We're dealing with that with the counterterrorism. Folks are using social media to hack. It happens all over the country, all over the world. It is a problem. It's not just everybody loves to point the finger at Russia. And we also have Derek Distilled from GSD Ventures, an Army veteran, coming on to share what he's been building abroad during this time. He actually has been traveling and working with partners over in Russia. Amazing former member of the Army, will be coming on to talk about that. And we have Matt Kuchera, host of Vet Pivot, coming on for what we're going to name our segment, going to kind of give us the Veterans Corner. And stay tuned for next week where we're going to pick a day and we're going to have veteran business owners on. So my call out to veteran business owners that are out there, or if you're a veteran brand, please message me. We'd love to have. We are giving you a day next Thursday, and every Thursday morning moving forward is Veteran and First Responder Day. So only veteran businesses and only first responder business brands and people will be on that day. So it'll be awesome. If you're not one of those, tune in and see what businesses you can support. That's what we have going for you. Again, I thank you for tuning in for To The Point. I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart. God bless America.